Here we are again, Episode 14. How do we do it? Changing the government and monetary system.
Hi guys, I'm going to read to you something that I wrote up for a class that I was taking last semester. I'm a sociology major, and the course I was taking was called Cross-Cultural Analysis, which can also be defined as global sociology. And this is what I wrote. It speaks a little bit about Mexico and the U.S., but the plans of how we change our system, you guys will see as I go along. But I just wanted to read this to you as well, instead of editing it, to let you know what the Mexican government is also going through and, how it affects us in the U.S. So here we go. The problem we decided to discuss was the Mexican immigration to the U.S. and the specific topic of how Mexico's agriculture exports lead to immigration. Major factors are: number 1, poverty; number 2, lack of natural resources like food and water; number 3, jobs; number 4, education; number 5, healthcare; number 6, lack of opportunities and development; number 7, farming; number 8, healthcare; number 9, environmental issues making it hard to grow anything; number 10, governmental problems, bad governing; number 11, the economy of Mexico. The problem of immigrating to the United States is affecting both Mexican and U.S. citizens. In 2010, 42% of Mexicans were living below the national poverty level. The problem is exporting to the United States. Approximately 60% of Mexico's exports go to the U.S. This includes fruits, vegetables, and coffee. Mexico also exports a lot of cotton as well. Mexico receives and imports 50.5% from the U.S., mostly in grain, to be used for goods most likely to be exported. Mexico also imports from China and Japan, which is small in comparison to the U.S. The amount of money in agricultural exporting goods exceeds $370.9 billion. The NAFTA Act, which is the North American Free Trade Act, I think of 1993, and the Free Trade Agreement has made Mexico a huge exporter. Many private corporations come into Mexico through regulations written in the trade acts or through political lobbying, financial manipulation, to get what they want. Some of these companies are Campbell's Soup, General Mills, like cereal, and Ralston Purina. The World Bank has also been financially affiliated with Mexico's economy, along with the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and other organizations. Mexico is responsible for being influenced politically and monetarily for the commitments they've made to these private organizations. This has crippled the Mexican economy and created less jobs and less food for them. The living conditions that most Mexicans live under is enough reason for them to come to America for a chance at a better future. Not to mention the U.S. and Mexico share a border. The national debt in Mexico is about $341 billion. It's very questionable if the money is really circulated to the people for advancement, or we wouldn't see so many immigrants here from what we're witnessing. This has also created a problem here in the U.S. with having too many illegal aliens in this country, draining our resources, creating overcrowding, increasing our taxes. America changed with the Industrial Revolution and started agriculturally declining after. Private businesses started to drive the economy and changed as profit motives for greed came about. With NAFTA and the removal of the Glass-Steagall Act, it was party time for private bankers and corporations. Now they can take their businesses outside of the United States. This now affects the U.S. citizens, loss of jobs, crippling our economy with no money to spend to stimulate it. Illegal Mexicans working off the books here and sending money back home. As a result, it creates recessions and possibly a depression. We have a national debt of about $17 trillion, most of it owed to the Federal Reserve, a private institution not a part of our government, as mentioned in previous episodes. The ones that make our money for us, and we have to pay them back with interest, the Federal Reserve. They know that the national debt could never be repaid. It's hidden from the public to prevent panic. The ones who benefit from this are the elite. The private central banks, the corporations, and the politicians. They gain significant profits from not having to pay their workers in the U.S. and Mexico proper living wages and benefits. American consumers who are shopping may be paying less for fruits, vegetables, etc. In the end, it's only hurting both nations. The media also benefits from this because they're all privately owned and benefit from profits. All the commercials on television are paid for as sponsors, and most private companies. TV networks rather not talk about the problem of why people want to cross the border. The editors and reporters, etc., don't want to lose their jobs. They went to school to get that job. They have a house, a family to pay for, and rather not cover the truth. The source of this problem with immigration through agriculture and other related issues is creating this inequality of life, not having the basic necessities of life for most Mexicans and Americans. Poverty is usually the number one reason to migrate to the U.S. The main root of the problem stems from bad leadership of our government. To allow private central banks to run our unbalanced and diminishing monetary system. This will eventually destroy American and Mexican society and others too, if we continue on this course. Anything you want to say? I'm going to continue with 4 solutions now on how we're going to fix these problems. Is there anything you want to add about the Mexican and
No,
the
I don't know
Americans?
too much about Mexican, what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, I wanted to mention the whole thing with the Mexicans and immigration, just for everyone to kind of get an idea, maybe with some of the statistics that I've mentioned, about how their economy is hurting and how it's affecting our economy, making us less independent, making us more dependent on these other nations.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd mention that before talking about fixing our, not fixing, but changing our government and creating a new monetary system. So this are the 4 solutions that I propose. Number 1, there has to be movements to get this information, the root problem of what we're going through, out to others that can't see this, who are dreaming or fast asleep. There is going to be denial because people fear change. Others shouldn't have to suffer for the fear and ignorance of those people. It's time to take a stand. People tend not to address the issue at hand. This is something others will have to learn to let go of if they want change. With globalization, we have a powerful weapon with technology, and that's the internet. Granted, not everyone has access to a computer, but it can spread to others, who can pass information on to others. The media has been letting the people down by not covering the truth. The people would have to find ways of getting into the public broadcasting system to send signals to others to start relaying what's going on. What do you think about that? With the movements having to get the information out.
Well, you're getting it out now.
Yeah, I'm getting it out
I
now.
just hope that everybody listens to this, and think about these things. I mean, I'm not very well versed on the this topic.
Well, this is
But,
just talking about
yeah.
I was just talking about Mexico and a little bit, just to give an example of some other nations that are suffering besides our nation and how it's affecting our
Yeah,
nation.
I understand you. Like you're saying, they're
But these 4 solutions that I'm proposing is what we need to do to make change in our government and to create a better system, a new government system and a new monetary system.
Well,
So that was number 1. Solution number 1, step number 1, was getting this information out to others. Let them know, this is what we're going through, like we mentioned in what's it, episode 11 about the problems with our monetary system. Now, once we know what's going on, like from episode 11, we can spread this information to others because our news networks aren't doing that. So we need to get the information out to everybody. This is the root problem. Everyone has to know, okay, we're all suffering because of what? This one problem. Our leaders who failed us and the bad monetary system that's given them the power. So now I'm going to read number 2, step number 2, what needs to be done. The people have to decide what kind of change they really want now. We all have to come up with things that will be beneficial to society as a whole, not just to ourselves. We have to let go of the old ways of thinking if we're going to succeed in this new frontier. There will be different ideas of a new system, but everyone has to be in agreement or else it won't work. There has to be room for better ideas and compromise because there are going to be many ideas. Step 2. We'll talk a little bit about step 2. Just basically, once we know what the problem is that we're going through, we all have to... People are going to have different ideas. You're going to get maybe, different states or communities will come out with different ideas and what they want it to be changed. Some might be better than others, but we all have to be on the same page. We have to be in agreement. We can't go into it having different ideas because that could lead to possible a civil war. Because we've seen that happen in nations with revolutions.
I mean, don't we have enough land in the United States to stop importing so many of the things that we import? Can't we make it ourselves? Can't we?
We used to.
Can't we? We have to seem to have the technology, and it seems like we have lots of land that's not occupied.
Lots and lots of
that could be growing. The land could be tilled.
Yes.
What do you call it? Tilled? Or
Yes,
what do you call it?
yeah.
And growing food. But what it is, it seems like the people who are working here are going to demand a certain amount of money.
Oh yes.
So they'd rather import it from somebody else and pay them less.
America,
and charge us the same amount of money they would charge.
Yeah. America used to be the #1 exporter in the world. Other nations used to depend on America for rice and grain and a whole bunch of things. Now we're not.
Now the unions wanted a certain amount of money for their needs to be able to get the things, and they didn't want to pay it out, so they take it and give it to somebody else, pay them a little bit less.
Exactly. Now, since we covered number 2, talking about, where was I at? The type of change that everyone's going to have. So we all have to be in agreement going into step number 3. Which is, once the majority agrees on what it is we want, and the change we all want, we also have to find a peaceful resolution for changing it. A revolution doesn't have to be violent. Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it has to again. If the police and military realized the amount of people that would march to the Capitol, I doubt that they'd fire at their own fellow citizens. A lot of them might be friends or family. And besides, they'd already be on board for change, realizing that their leaders have deceived them into unjust wars, lies, and the terrible economy they came back home to. I think that's really important with step 3. That when we make this type of change, that there would be so many people on board if this information gets out to everyone in the previous steps that the powers that be couldn't really fight us. There'd be too many people.
Mm.
Because everyone would be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Because information would be able to be getting out. I'm going to read the last one, 4. That way me and Bernard, we can talk more about it. Step number 4 now. Take away the power from those that are doing wrong to the people. The government will be scrapped and rebuilt with a new foundation from scratch. New laws and regulations that will benefit society. What's extremely important is the monetary system. That will be implemented afterward, because the monetary system can be dangerous if mishandled. Number 4 is very important because once we make the change, it has to be something that will not fail. First, I propose a new government system and monetary system. First, the new government would be changed, and strict laws and regulations to prevent corruption to favor anyone other than the people. We wouldn't have taxes for repaying national debts by careless spending, unjust wars. We'd have policies in place where communities vote on bills that want to be passed. People who are in office wouldn't be for as long as they are. They wouldn't need to. We'd have a universal and great health care system. Our education system would be big top priority because our nation would benefit from an educated society. Our voting system would be different too. It wouldn't be one or the other. There would be a choice if the people don't favor either candidate. There will be others. There won't be money dumped on campaigns. Our infrastructure will be in tip-top shape. We'd have better metropolitan transportation. No more traffic jams. We have plenty of places for animals to go and not be hunted or threatened to be extinct or put to sleep. For small things. Not being able to have homes for them. And a big thing will be the availability of natural free energy. We won't be dependent on oil as we are now. We'll release the suppressed technology that has been kept away from us. We'll have a better justice system where we would reduce the jail population. We'll have less crime. We have many rehabilitating centers that would help our fellow citizens come back to contribute to society. We'll disarm all nuclear warheads. We don't need those things. Now the monetary system and the new system will have currency that isn't physically transferable to others, as paper money is now. In previous episodes, we touched on it with Spencer Lewis and Marcus Hostad. Now, this is my perspective on it, my words. Now, we have the technology to do this. We can all have a card or even something as a thumbprint that only you could use to buy things, not anyone else. The way we would get paid is through services rendered, a job, not backed by a commodity like gold, silver, or debt. Also worth mentioning, we wouldn't have to work so many hours as we do now because everyone would be employed and would want to work and contribute to society to get the necessities needed. People would get good wages and vacation time. No worrying about healthcare costs or expenses. You could buy nice things to live comfortably and recycle them when done to make way for new things. Less things would go to waste because innovators would want to put new things out for people to enjoy. not greedy or for profit making, for enjoyment, for satisfaction, for accomplishment. The inventors would take pride and satisfaction for a good job that would make a difference in others' lives. They would be getting paid a service for their career. Also, by not having money transferable, there would be less crime. They can't rob you because the money was issued to you only. Besides, they would have money of their own to buy the things that they want. For example, you work 10 hours for the week and you get paid, which is issued to you only, say, for example, Bernard Hall. Let's say you get paid 300 units for working 10 hours for the week. Now you have to think of how you have to spend your units. House expenses, 20 units. Food and drink, 5 units. Transportation, 5 units, and other things you would want to do. But you're not going to worry because the cost of doing things wouldn't be crazy as it is now. Now, if you're thinking some people would be lazy, I don't think so. Because those who don't work would be missing out, and there would be jobs out there to everyone's liking or abilities. No one would be forced into doing things they don't want to or to be left out. The education system would be a lot different and much better. You'd get paid services for being a student because an educated society is beneficial. It would be encouraged. Some would say, isn't this socialism? It's not controlling or demeaning. Do you care what the new system is called as long as it's benefiting everyone and no one is suffering? No one is telling you what to do. Instead, encouraging you to do the things you want and helping others. No military control. The people and the government have say in matters in the community and the nation. Not everyone gets paid for the same thing. For a greater duty or responsibility, you get an increase more than the others because of that role. It wouldn't be anything ludicrous like how it is today. People would want to achieve and develop their talents and abilities. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to see a doctor that became a doctor just for the money. There's so much more I could get into, but I'd end up writing another 100 pages or speaking for a couple of more hours. I hope you can get the idea of a new, different system. You have to see this with a clear and open mind, and not through the eyes of the old system. You have to let go of the what's in it for me. I know it's hard. It's all we've ever known. But there is much better waiting for us. With this system, they wouldn't be forced immigration like what the Mexicans and other immigrants are going through. If someone wanted to leave their country and go to another one to migrate, it would be for different reasons. We could grow our own produce and have trade with other nations without monetary exchange. Last example. We could exchange fruits with Brazil or Australia, hypothetically speaking. It doesn't matter the nation. If there is a storm and they can't give us an even exchange, that's okay. When things get better, they can give back what they can. We shouldn't make others suffer because we wouldn't want that done to us or to our loved ones. The purpose of the human species is to procreate and learn to teach our offspring. We have a greater purpose to evolve and become enlightened and to help others, because there is more to life than all of this. And that will end my reading and lecture.
Yeah, I had to laugh a little bit. I was smiling. Talking about doctors. Doctors look at each person coming in as a source of income, and they get him in and get him out quick. Get him out. Oh, so you have this. I'm gonna write it. You take this pill. If it doesn't work, call me and I'll give you another prescription. Try that.
They want to know what they call you. The first thing they're asking you now: what insurance do you have?
Get out fast. Come on in. Because that's the way they make their money.
They don't even ask you what's wrong. The first thing they ask you is, what insurance do you have?
Yeah.
It's money making.
Oh, man.
It's a terrible system. And back to some of the things that I was talking about, in here, especially with what did I want to say? With our education system. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that we have to pay to go to school. Because I'm a college student myself.
Yeah, pay to go to school.
Pay to go to school. And accrued all that debt going into the workforce. And jobs are not even guaranteed because a lot of the jobs they're sending overseas. Cheaper labor. They're hungry to get the work over there. But they're not thinking about here at home. They're just thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
How is the money in this country going to be stimulated if there's no jobs?
Yep.
It's a sick system that we live in. Our nation, our leaders have they've failed us.
Yeah, we need new leaders and new thinkers.
A lot of people I've talked to, they tell me, our leaders need to do this, the Republicans and the Democrats need to... They're all working for the same people. Bernard, he's up there in age now. He's seen many... you've seen many elections, a lot of politics.
Oh, my goodness. Same thing over and over. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And things have gotten worse.
And then they blame it on each other.
Yeah.
They blame it on each other. We're going to lower taxes.
It's too big. Government is too big. Too big. Too huge. Too big.
Yeah. We're going to create jobs. We're going to have better schools and better sources of energy and lower those taxes. If they lowered taxes all these years for every politician that ran, there wouldn't be any taxes. They'd be paying us.
If they were working for a private concern, they would have been fired a long time ago. The government.
Oh, they failed us
things
miserably.
are supposed to get better. Religion, the government, all of them have been failures. Things are supposed to be getting better, and things are getting worse. What good have they done?
Nothing.
Gee.
It's terrible. But I've had people tell me that, the leaders need to do this, they need to do that to fix it. My thing is, you can't fix a broken system. It's broken.
It's broken. It's got to be changed. It has to be changed.
You have to throw out the old system.
Yeah.
You can't have the structure of government that we have now and try to... it's like a house. You have a house with a broken foundation. You live in the house. Let's say you've lived in the house for several years, and something's wrong. You got a shake in the house. And you have someone come in and look at it, and they tell you something is wrong with the foundation of this house. It's losing its structural integrity, and the house will eventually collapse on itself. Now, some people would say, "Oh, let's see if we can fix it." But the guy who looks at the house tells you, from my expertise, this house is beyond repair. There's just too much structural damage to this house. The house is broken. It can't be fixed. It has to be demolished and rebuilt. That's what has to happen in this nation.
That's right. Yep.
That's
what happened.
The founding fathers. It started out. They wanted to start out on a different path, and I believe they started off on a bad path. What they did with the Native Americans and the blacks, in this nation, having forced slavery to start this nation. So it started on a bad foundation as it is. Now, when we change it, we have to make sure the foundation that we put in there is strong, and it can't go bad. With a new monetary system that we'll put in there, we have to have people who would be running it, overseeing the monetary system and employers, how they would pay, the services rendered, because that could be manipulated. Anything could be manipulated if it isn't moderated right. But the monetary system that we have in place now can easily be manipulated, and it can easily be corrupted. Corruption is everywhere because the money is transferable. When we go into a new monetary system, it can't be like anything we've ever had. I know some people have told me, oh, gold is the best way to go, the gold standard. Put your money in gold. Gold never goes bad. Gold will always have value. But if you look at history, nations and civilizations that have used gold as a currency, it ended up getting corrupt because then they went to paper money because people couldn't walk around with so much gold. They would have to have slips, showing how much gold the bank is holding. I forget a fractional reserve lending. It can't be any commodity that we've had before. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you're going to create something new, why are you going to use something that's been used in the past, which has failed?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make any sense. It has to be something completely new and never used in history. Now, the powers that be, the elite, they know the monetary system is on the verge of collapse. They know it's going to fail. That's the way it was made. That's why they know it's going to fail. Most of the people out there don't know this. Some do, some don't. But the powers that be know this. They're going to do everything in their power to create a new monetary system. But a monetary system that will only benefit them.
Yeah, keep them right where they're at.
And I've heard they want to create this one world economy. They wanted to create, combine different economies to create, one currency. But by doing that, they'll have a greater control over all the nations. See, the IMF, they go into all these countries and poor countries and say, we're going to give you money and we'll give you loans, knowing that these nations can't repay them back. And they use that as a source to make more money by basically controlling that nation. Say, all right, if you can't pay us back, say countries in Africa or in Asia or in South America, the IMF, all right, you can't pay back on your loans, the leaders, the government. What we'll do is the companies, corporations here in America or some in Europe who are affiliated through the IMF, they'll allow them to build factories in those countries. They'll build highways, they'll build stuff like that, and they'll employ the workers in that country. Sure, they'll do that. They'll say, we'll give your citizens jobs. But guess where all that money they're getting from? From us, here in the U.S. and Canada. Because we're the ones spending money on the iPhones, all the electronics that are made, overseas, all the clothes, sneakers, all of these, stuff that we're getting from other countries. We're paying the money that's going out there, and stimulating the workers over there. They're getting paid for it, and the corporation, the CEOs of those companies, they're getting richer. And some people will say, some people I've talked to, well, if the people, they're going to do it if the people allow them to do it. If the people don't put their foot down, they're going to do it. That's the way the system has been made, the monetary system. But these things are not brought out to the public, where a lot of them, like Bernard has said, they're brain lazy. They don't know what's going on. All they know is 9 to 5 every day. 9 to 5 every day, because they have to pay their bills.